Good evening. I now call this Town of Adams Board of Selectmen meeting to order on Wednesday, October 4th, 2023. If you could all please stand and join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. The first order of business is the approval of minutes for September 20th, 2023. I believe all but member Blanchard can vote on the minutes.
Madam Chair, I'll make a motion to approve the September 20th, 2023 minutes and waive the reading of the minutes.
Okay, I have a motion by member Duval. Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Second by member Novak. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye. Anyone opposed or an abstention?
Abstention.
One abstention. Thank you. That brings us to public comment. Is there anyone here who wishes to speak to the board? Go ahead, Chief, if you could state your name.
I'll just state first that the chief is a very brave and dedicated New Englander because he is wearing a Boston Red Sox shirt.
Last place.
Yeah.
Colors.
That's nice. We appreciate it.
Last place.
Yeah.
You can use yours too.
I just decided not to wear my pinstripes. It's great. Please. I'm sure you're not here to talk about baseball.
So, thank you. I'm Scott Kelly, Chief of Police, but originally tonight I came to you as a member of the Adams Lions Club. I've been involved with the organization for a couple of years now, and this year they asked me to chair the Halloween parade, which I did, and that's what I'm here in reference to. So, nothing has changed. It will be October 29th at 3 p.m. The route is still the same, which will be congregating behind the building down here, and then going down Park Street, cutting right onto Maple, and then into the visitor center. There will be hot dogs, water, I think other snacks that will be handed out by the Lions Club. We would ask, and I'm going to get the facility, but we'll ask that the doors to the visitor center be open. I'll take care of any follow-up with that to make sure it's squared away. But other than that, that's it. I'm in the process of getting with everyone who's usually involved, my police department, Adams Ambulance, both fire departments, and a couple of other people. We'd like this to kind of get a little bit bigger now that I'm handling it, at least for the time being. So that's what I bring to you, and that's it. That's what I've got as far as this.
Okay. Thank you. That's exciting.
Now, secondly,
So, Chief, just one question, clarification, where is the starting point?
it's behind.
The old First Aggie Bank?
It's the bank, but
Yeah,
I thought it was
okay.
bought. I don't know, whatever the parking lot is that we usually
Okay.
start from back there.
All right.
Window World? Is it Window World building?
Supposed to be Window World,
Yeah,
That's
that's what
formerly-
purchased it.
formerly TD Bank.
Yes,
TD Bank.
Yeah,
Okay, thank you.
it's that building.
Gotcha.
got it.
So now, unexpectedly, I'm going to put on my chief's hat, and so it became public knowledge today, I believe.
Yes.
From the state of Massachusetts. I had mentioned it in previous meetings. I had mentioned it in the Finance Committee, and I think I mentioned it in the town meeting just briefly about Massachusetts' eventual move to require body-worn cameras for all police officers. I had also mentioned that in my experience, that was something in South Carolina that was done in 2015. So this was a no-brainer for me. I knew the process, I knew what to do. So Massachusetts kind of followed what I was used to with South Carolina. They offered a grant to help out police departments in the initial startup. So what we did was we spoke with several vendors. I wrote the grant, and we were awarded exactly what I asked for, $110,000 to upfit our officers with body-worn cameras, an extra camera, extra clips and magnets to keep it on you, and a wonderful new gadget or whatever you want to call it. This system will also, if the weapon is drawn by the officer out of the holster, it will automatically turn on the body-worn camera. So instead of reaching up and touching it and turning it on, if that weapon is drawn, it starts recording. So it was made, I wanted to bring this to you before it was made public, but here we are. But that's where we're at. We are now in the process of the next step. I actually spoke with the vendor we're going with, which I'm going to keep that myself right now, but spoke with her this morning, and we're working on the next steps to getting our body-worn cameras. Our policy committee has already worked, and we need to finalize our body-worn camera policy. Again, this is something I've done numerous times, is develop body-worn camera policies, and we will submit it to MPTC. So we are well on our way, and I don't want to give a time frame, but it'll be, it'll be the next couple of months we'll see body-worn cameras.
Okay. Thanks, Chief. I know when we were putting the agenda together on Monday, the information was embargoed, and then it hit papers today, so I appreciate you saying something tonight, but I would like to put it on a future agenda so that the board would be able to discuss it and have a little bit more dialogue with you about the equipment itself and the vendor and so forth. But because it's not on the agenda, I didn't want to go down too far of a path.
And I think what we can do is, once the vendor's finalized, actually what I would like to do, once the vendor is finalized and we get our cameras and our policy is done and all of that, I would like to present it all to you.
Great.
Because I would like for you to see how the body-worn camera works and up close, instead of me just up here talking. So, give us time to do that, and we'll present everything to you when it's appropriate.
Okay. Thank you.
I would love to. Thank you. Any questions?
Yes, if I could.
Yep.
I don't know if it's appropriate now after what you just said, but I know we just signed a contract with the police union. Is that...
That was not an issue. We discussed it during the contract negotiations, and that is squared away. The contract has been signed, and they have not, this is not something that they asked to be compensated, and this is part of their uniform.
Okay, so it's part of their uniform. Great.
Correct? All right.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We're still under public comment. Is there anyone who wants to speak to the board? Okay. All right, we'll move on to new business. So the first item is an annual favorite, and it is setting the 2023 Halloween trick-or-treat hours. So the chief teed this up nicely with the Lions Club Halloween Parade. This year, Halloween falls on Tuesday, October 31st. Previous years, the board has gone with the hours of 5:30 to 7:30 p.m., but I open it up to the board to set the Halloween hours for this year.
I'll make a motion to set the Halloween hours on Tuesday, October 31st, from 5:30 to 7:30.
Okay, I have a motion by member Duval. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second by member Blanchard. Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor? Aye. Anyone opposed or an abstention? That is unanimous. Excellent. We'll get that out to the media soon, because I know people are already asking. All right, that brings us to item B, the appointment of Deborah Calderara to the Adams Historical Commission. The board has an application in front of us. I do see Ryan Byros here. Is Deborah here?
She's running a little late.
Okay.
If you guys wouldn't mind, you can circle back in a few minutes.
Sure.
She just let us know that she's running a little late, but
Okay.
she will be here shortly.
Great, so we'll move on to the licensing items, and we'll come back. Okay. If that's okay with the board, to wait until Deborah gets here?
Sure.
Great. All right, so we will move on to item C, which is the licensing. We have a number of one-day liquor licenses for the Firehouse Cafe is actually applying for the licenses to serve at the Adams Theater. The theater has a number of performances coming up this coming weekend, Friday, October 6th, Saturday, October 7th, and Sunday, October 8th. I know Xavier is here from Firehouse Cafe, so if there are any questions about the 3 applications in front of us, we can certainly ask that. But it's probably best to take them one at a time. And we could take up the Friday, October 6th, 5 to 9 p.m. One-day liquor license. And I just wanted to reiterate, I believe all of the certificates are in, the tips information is here, and the insurance is in hand, it's just not in our packets.
Correct.
And fees have been paid and all that fun stuff.
And if anyone has a question actually about that Sunday date, Ina did a while ago put through 4 different dates for a Sunday entertainment license, and that was one of those dates, so that should be, just want to clarify that up top.
Thank you.
I'll make a motion the board approve a one-day wine and malt license application for Xavier Jones on Friday, October 6th, from 5 to 9 p.m. at the Adams Theater.
I have a motion by Member Blanchard, do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Member Duval, any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye. Anyone opposed? All right, that is unanimous. Next one is for Saturday, October 7th, also 5 to 9 p.m.
I'll make a motion the board approve a one-day wine and malt license application for Xavier Jones for Saturday, October 7th, from 5 to 9 p.m. at the Adams Theater.
I have a motion by Member Blanchard, do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Member Duval, any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye. Anyone opposed? All right, that is unanimous. And the third one is for Sunday, October 8th, also 5 to 9 p.m. That's the circus, right? I think that one is, oh, okay, great,
So the circus is in the morning, and then the show is later.
got it. Thank you. Bless you.
Thank you. I'll make a motion the board approve a one-day wine and malt license application for Xavier Jones on Sunday, October 8th, from 5 to 9 p.m. at the Adams Theater.
Okay. Motion by Member Blanchard, do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Member Duval, any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right, that is unanimous. Excellent, thank you very much. And then I do have a one-day public entertainment license for BART Charter for an event on Sunday, October 15th from 1 to 4 p.m. Is there anyone here from BART? Okay. So this is an international festival that is taking place. We did receive their entertainment license application and all of the necessary paperwork. I would just ask that the board, when making a motion, we would just ask that we would be approving it pending receipt of payment, which is arriving in the office tomorrow, but we just didn't receive it before today. We just ask for that condition from the board. But everything else is all set, and this is for them to have an event on their campus.
I'll make a motion that the board approve the one-day public entertainment license application for the BART International Festival at 1 Commercial Street, Adams, on October 15th?
Yep, Sunday, October 15th.
From 1 to 4.
Okay. And if you could just add the condition pending.
With the
Yeah,
condition that the payment is made.
okay. Thank you. I have a motion by Member Blanchard. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Member Duval. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye. Anyone opposed? Or an abstention? All right, that is unanimous. Yes? Okay. Saw a big smile over there. It's okay. We're happy to see you, Deborah, so thank you. So we're going to move back to item B, and it is the appointment of Deborah Calderara. Yep. I have it correct, okay? I've been practicing. Deborah is looking to be appointed to the Adams Historical Commission. We were made aware of a vacancy back in June, around the time of the reappointment process. So happy to have an application in, and a pretty extensive resume here in front of us. So Deborah, I don't know if you wanted to come up and say a few words, introduce yourself.
Oh, sure.
Sure.
My name is Deborah Calderara. I moved to Adams in 2007. So I work at the charter school. I'm going into my 18th year there. I've taught history of all different levels, American, modern world. Right now, my seniors, I have a Vietnam course that I'm teaching the full year. And I love local history. Actually, Sue Denault is the one who turned me on to that. I took every course that she offered when I was at MCLA, and I earned a minor in local history here. So,
I saw
I
that
don't know
on
if
your
you have any other
resume.
questions.
I don't, but I'll open it up to the board if anyone has any questions or comments. Anyone?
Well, yes, I attended the meeting that you were there, and I thought you had quite a bit of good insight, and I personally would like to thank our Historical Commission. Very important, in my opinion, that we keep our roots together and that you oversee our valuable assets, be it buildings, land, or anything that's historical in the town, because that makes us who we are. So thank you very much for all your work you do.
Thanks, Joe. Anyone else? Okay. If there are no questions, is there a motion to appoint Deborah to the Adams Historical Commission?
Well, I'll make that motion to have Deborah Calderara appointed to the Historical Commission, and I'm not sure when her tenure will be. I think that's something that, is it mentioned there, or does it need to be hashed out?
No, do we have the vacancy in that rate?
No. Ryan, did you speak with the town clerk about the appointment term?
I can probably pull that up.
So because it was a vacancy, Jody resigned, I want to say halfway through her term, so.
Hold up.
So I would say maybe for one year.
It looks like on the clerk's page for the Historical Commission that the vacancy has a term that would go through 2026. So it would be a 3-year term. That was what yep. So I think that she had finished up her last term. That's my understanding.
That's what it was.
Okay. So it would be through June of 2026.
Okay, would you like me to incorporate that into the motion?
Yes, please.
Okay, for a term to expire 2026.
Okay. I have a motion by Member Novak. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Member Blanchard. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? That's unanimous. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Really appreciate it. Had a good group there. The rest of them are there. And just a reminder to be sworn in by the town clerk before your first meeting on the Historical Commission. Excellent. Thank you. All right. So item D is a presentation from the Berkshire Regional Transit Authority about some proposed bus stops, and I know we have some members of BRTA with us, but Eamon Coughlin, our Director of Community Development, I think was going to make some introductions. Okay.
So I'd like to introduce Raleigh Kane, General Manager. Sure. For Berkshire Regional Transit Authority, or BRTA. Just some background on this, which Raleigh will get into much more detail on. BRTA is transitioning from a flag stop system where you can basically get on and off the bus anywhere along a BRTA route towards a more efficient fixed stop system. So moving towards fixed stop locations along their existing routes. We, a couple months ago, I think back in July, Tim Coda and I met with Raleigh. We took a tour through town of all the proposed bus stop locations. At the moment, the only thing that's being installed at these proposed bus stops is some signage. And then over the next few years, this project will evolve. It'll include some boarding and lighting, concrete pads for handicap access. And then in the future, at some locations, there might be some permanent shelters installed. For the board tonight, there's no approvals that are really needed. This is really just to get the information to you and to the public. But as this project evolves in the next few years, some permissions might be needed for stop locations and things of that nature. But we're really just trying to get the word out to the public. Tim has agreed to have DPW work on, I think, approximately half of the sign installs along at those stop locations, and BRTA will handle the remaining ones. So it's our hope that this, by the holidays or end of the calendar year, those signs should be installed to let folks know about the new stop locations.
Great, thank you. So Raleigh, you want to come on up? Sure.
Make sure you also introduce your...
I was going to ask you to do that with Bob and Sarah
My
here.
coworkers? Yeah, sure. So my name is Riley Kim, the general manager for the authority. I run operations essentially. To my right is Bob Malnati, the administrator, and Sarah Valley is the deputy administrator of the agency. So,
Great. It's nice to have all
sure,
of
you've
you
never
here.
met them, right?
Never.
It's good to have you up in arms.
It is.
Yeah. So I have a short presentation that we've provided a couple times now to a couple other municipalities that basically introduces the program. Like Amy mentioned, the BRTA for many years had operated a flag stop system where it was up to the customer in the moment to figure out where they can stand to catch the bus, and also the driver to figure out in the moment if they can even stop and pick that person up. Naturally, that leads to conflict of opinion and therefore declining or lower ridership than should be expected in the areas that we service. So to fix the issue, we are proposing to install bus stops along all routes in all communities. Some communities will have bus stops required, but after speaking with Eamon, we're not going to do that immediately with Adams. The intent is to install those bus stops and have folks naturally gravitate towards them, and we'll see how that goes first. But the second problem with flag stop service is that you have to know the service exists before you can take it. You can't just see it and know it's there. So if you're has anyone ridden the bus recently? We'd love to have you. But you have to know it exists on the road that you're on before you can take it, as opposed to a normal, more widely accepted system of we're advertising it, and therefore you know it's available and you can plan your life around that. So we're trying to fix two problems with the same sign, for lack of a better phrase. Scroll down. No worries. So these are just the headers. Again, this is an overview presentation, so we can just go to the next one. Overall, bus stops improve safety for the operator and the customer, as well as the butter community. If the system is left to buses stopping anywhere along any road, the safety issues are not being actively mitigated. So we're trying to also correct that issue with bus stops by choosing locations that are safe for the near term, and also could be improved in the long term, which is key because you want transit ridership to go up, and you can't do that if you have nothing to improve. So next. It's also standardized, so this is an example. It's changed a little bit. You can see some photos later on, but the bus stop signs that we're employing are the style where we're advertising, and it seems a little rudimentary, but we have to advertise what it is. It's a bus stop. And if you think of bus stop signs as the storefront to the business, we want to advertise what we're selling and the hours that you can purchase that product, which in our case is transit service. So from these locations, 510 North Street, I can purchase the Route 1, the 3, the 4, the 5. It goes to these places during these times. I know who the agency is. I know how to contact them for more information. I know all the information I need, without any input from the agency to make a decision whether I'm taking the bus or not. So this is what we currently don't have. You have to do all this legwork to get some bus information, and that's not customer friendly. So standardized, this is a concept, again, you'll see it's changed a little bit, but the idea is the agency has a great logo. It's a B, double B, butterfly type logo that beacons you to the stop location. At the stop has a name and the service is provided, and the eventual areas that we might have to build out some more infrastructure are done using just system industry standards. We're not inventing anything. We're just applying much larger system standards to ours. So, free information. We're creating an information ecosystem, so the bus stop schedules on the right-hand side connect in number and visuals to the bus stop sign. So if I know that the Route 1 is blue, and I get a schedule, I get the blue Route 1. So we're creating this ecosystem information for folks who don't need, maybe perhaps don't have the best English proficiency, or they just don't communicate in writing very well. But I know that route that I have in my hand is at this stop because the color and the number on the sign. Bus stops allow us to create the environment for transit. So at flag stop systems, we are required, for lack of a better phrase, to use the environment as it currently exists. So if there are terrible places for wheelchair users to wait, then we can't do anything about it. So by building bus stops, it allows us to plan for greater accessibility for everyone, including able-bodied users, non-able-bodied users, creating specific areas for transit to exist in the street is all possible with this initial program. So you can't improve anything if you have nothing to begin with, is the mentality. Operationally, everyone hates a late bus, and unfortunately at this point we're not helping ourselves. So a flag stop system, you, as a customer, are allowed to stand anywhere. Truthfully, this is a real situation. I could be 7 feet away from another customer, and that bus will stop and then stop if I'm not going to walk to it, because I'm allowed to stand wherever. Designated stops condense the same number of people into specific points, which will increase speeds. And what we're looking to aim for the majority of the system is to have a blended kind of model where we have bus stops and people gravitate towards them naturally, but we're not directly requiring them by policy to use them. So, get the improved speed benefit, but also more customer-friendly policy. And it's multi-purpose. Like I said before, we do one thing, we can have 9, 10 spin-off seasons, so to speak. Bus stops are the gateway to a lot of other much larger, complex transit programs for ridership. And it's a virtuous cycle. There's zero downside to greater transit infrastructure. The more customers you get on the vehicle, the better the service, improves the health of the service, which means you can just improve it later down the road. It's nothing but upwards, hopefully. The backbone of all this is BRTA does have a bus stop design service guidelines package that we will use for any location we try to build a bus stop in any of the 30 member communities. And like I said before, it's only industry best practices. It's not anything that we've invented ourselves. And it's ongoing. So this is an example of the first pilot program signage we did in downtown Pittsfield. 2 across the street from each other. It's evolved a little bit as we've tried to figure out vendors and just really what works. You know, we did 2. That evolved into pilot 2, which is the final product here. And over the past year, we've been rolling out to multiple southern locations from here. So stops where a lot of routes service already. Areas where we had a shelter, just no sign. So that's the first kind of stage of this program. As for Adams, we're uniquely situated up here for great transit ridership because you already have great transit ridership, and we just want to grow that even more. So the Route 1, which is BRT's busiest route in the system, last year alone it was 120,000 customers, which is almost more than 1/5 of the total system, I think. And it goes right through town, so you have the majority of the main road in town serviced by the busiest bus route in the system. And business is a booming in Adams, to put it lightly. We hit all major roads, Grove, Commercial Center, Summer, Hoosick, Columbia, and Howland. All the stops in this round of installations will only include a pole and a sign. Any future additions will, anything that's not require like an ADA landing pad or anything, would be up to the town, the authority to decide what works best for the community. So it's a really open infrastructure if we wanted to, if we want every bus stop to be, you know, gold plated, I'm all for it. But that's not what we're proposing here. We're just initially proposing signs and poles. And yeah, we've already been working for a while on it in October. So this time last year, I have a proposed bus stop lawn sign that I put at every location that we're proposing a bus stop. And that is the first part of our public input process, where it just directs people, if they have questions or comments, to email or call us with them. Didn't receive really any from Adams, which is great, because it means that we're picking locations that are going to be very helpful. In April, we met with Jay and Christine, I believe, right? Yep. For Zoom, and then, like I mentioned, in July, we walked around. We drove through town with Tim to each of the sites. So, next step is tonight, and hopefully installing. So, next step system-wide is really just wash, rinse, repeat throughout every community, but we're trying to hit the most impactful projects first. So that's why we're here.
Thank you,
I think that's
Raleigh.
it. There we go. Yep.
Great.
Any questions?
Yeah, can you just go back to the ridership, the numbers that you listed here for Route 1 is the Pittsfield to North Adams route, and it has 122,000 passengers or rides. I would think that
Yeah,
that means,
yeah, boardings might be a good way
Boardings.
of people getting on. Yep.
but those aren't necessarily all boardings in Adams. That's
No.
just along that route from Pittsfield to North Adams. Do you have ridership numbers for the town of Adams? I know you're saying it's increasing, but
Yeah, we, not per se, we have
Okay.
financial information for fares purchased in town, and you can deduce ridership,
okay,
but that would be available if you.
okay. Just curious.
It's from personal experience, so we're in an employee shortage, so I've actually been driving the bus quite a lot. And there is a very healthy ridership from Adams to North Adams, and then from North Adams into Adams, to the point where we'll be leaving Walmart, which is the transfer point, with 30 or so folks on the bus, and by the time you get to the other end of the commercial, you only have 4 or 5. So it's everyone else got off between there and here.
Okay,
So
thank you.
you're welcome.
I'll open up to the board for any questions, or comments. And again, there's no action for the board this evening, it's more informational, but, yeah.
Yes, I do. So this is going to begin soon, the signs are going to go up. I think it's a good program, easy to understand. Communication to the public, I know this is part of it. I'm sure the media is another part of it. What's your plan for communicating to the public that uses the system, that and when this change is going to begin and all that?
Most likely we will begin installations. Most of it's depending with the DPW schedule as well. We've agreed to do a 50-50 sort of installation schedule. Once again, all the materials are provided by us. It's not any cost to the town. To make the public aware, we're most likely, which we have in other communities, has had a press release that this is what you'll be seeing. And if you have more information, I'll direct you to resources on probably the authority's website. So, but we're not making a policy change, it's just adding to the existing, so.
Okay, yeah, so it'll be in probably the Eagle hasn't already, or the iBerkshires, or,
Yeah.
Yeah, I do the Eagle Eye Bird, I put it on Facebook.
Oh, good.
On our site, so.
okay.
We'll take a look too and see what links we have on our webpage for BRTA service. It's a good, just dawned on me, like, I don't know.
Yeah, sure.
We have a lot of folks interested in moving to town, and we do, particularly people from metropolitan areas, they intuitively ask, oh, what's your transit service, here? So we have to make sure that we explain, we do have it, you have to look for it. So Bree, just remind me, please. We'll see what's on our webpage.
And Bob and Sarah have been very active with just technology over the past 10 years. But don't mind me tapping a little bit, but all of our information's on Google. If you use Google Maps and search the transit option, all of the information is currently active. So you can plan trips. It gives you all of our exact information. The authority also has its own proprietary app called Route Shout that is our own. We manage that directly. So it is quite available. We're just trying to make the information more available. And that second sign, which I didn't get to point out, but if you're ever down south in Pittsfield or even at Target, you'll see that there's the beacon at the top, the bus stop sign, and then a ADA height sign that has some basic fare rules or authority rules, like you can't smoke, you can't loiter, things like that. In the center is a QR code that takes you to the schedule for that location. So, yeah.
Thank you.
So if you're not tech savvy, you don't have to be.
Okay.
Basically.
Yeah, my question, you said right now, where they can just wave down the bus, and you'll pick up 7 feet away if somebody wants it. What about with the new bus stop, and then 10 feet down the road, somebody doesn't want to walk that 10 feet, are you going to stop for them, or is there kind of like a boundary?
Well, what we found in other communities, so like on Tyler Street in Pittsfield, for instance, is that if there's a person waiting near the bus stop, the bus will stop at the stop, and then they'll beckon the passenger over to the stop. So we're kind of informing them that this is where we're going to be picking up, and that might happen a few times. But it also is true if that person is totally absent to moving, then we'll just go get them. But we hope that won't be the case, that they'll see the nice new infrastructure and then walk over and use the bus stop.
Yeah, I would put a limit on it. You know, we're not going to stop again within so many feet, you know?
And that happens now, truthfully, if in the situation where if I was standing where I am and you where you are, the bus stop for me, the driver's going to beckon you over anyway. So from the customer's perspective, it really won't be that big of a change.
Is that it, Rick?
That's all I have.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I was just wondering, I know you work with the federal government, right, BRTA. Now, how is your contract administered, and how are you, your monies given to you? What are your parameters when you ask for funding from the federal government?
So I would not be the best person to answer
You want
that.
to defer to Bob? Sure.
I can answer that.
See, we got you on television now.
Bob, if you'll come and introduce yourself officially now.
Bob
that you're-
Nomadi, I'm the administrator of the Berkshire Regional Transit Authority. Thanks for having us. If you look at the Federal Register, I don't know if you've ever looked at that, but if you...
I'm familiar with it, but I haven't.
Okay, if you ever have trouble sleeping at night, that's the thing you look at. Every year, there's an annual appropriations that come out from the government. Right now, it's in the continuing resolution snafu, that's when the government runs out of money type of situation. But every year, there's a line item in there for Berkshire Regional Transit Authority. You'd have to look at a certain table that tells you, because of the population that we serve, we are called a small urban area. There are 3 of them within the Commonwealth, so you'd have to look under Massachusetts. It lists the 3 communities and the dollar amount that goes with that. Once that gets posted, we then submit an application in to the federal government and say, we would like to submit that grant application for those funds. And at that point in time, we tell the government how we're going to spend those funds. So much for operations, so much for capital needs, so much for planning. There's 3 buckets that we can choose from. That grant, once it gets submitted, has to be approved. It goes through labor, they approve it. It has to go in through the dotting of the i's and crossing of the t's through civil rights. Are we up to date on all of our requirements? Are we in a fundable status? And then at that point in time, they say it's ready to go, submit your application. We submit the application, and then I get to pin the money, and then it says, okay, now it's yours. Now you can start to draw down those funds. And in those grant applications, we have to specify this amount of money for this time frame that will be spent on that. That's how that goes.
Yep. During your, how long are your contracts for once they're signed? Is this a yearly, do you have to do this yearly, or?
We do this annually. Once the money is awarded and that final check the box and now it's yours, we have 5 years to spend it.
Okay.
So we do have,
Right,
we do
so
have
you
some
get a
funds.
bundle of money and you have the 5 years to spend it down?
Yes.
And then reapply?
No, every year you would apply for a new application based on what was listed in the appropriations. We also annually apply for, called discretionary funds, for different programs. The last 2 years, Sarah's been successful in submitting an application which was funded and awarded. Both of them were over $2 million for capital items, being 2 buses and HVAC system for the building. Another one was another couple buses and some bus lifts at the maintenance facility. So that's how we usually get the larger ticket items is we submit the application and it's competitive across the country.
Okay, well, thank you. And just a few other questions. I like the idea of standardizing everything, but like everything you're going to start, there's a learning curve for the people, as was kind of mentioned by Member Duval. And so I think that, once again, that's going to be important because I don't know how to frame this, but people that are riding the bus, it didn't surprise me whatsoever from Pittsfield to Adams to North Adams is your largest ridership, and a lot has to do with the economics. A lot also has to do with people that, of course, they'll use the bus, but they don't have a car because either they can't afford it. And how have you found the working person that has to get to a job? I know you have a lot of buses, which should help alleviate some of that problem, but how do you, look into that?
How do we reach the customers?
Ascertain, the working people, because I know people that take the bus because, and some say, well, I got to get it really early because if I don't get it early, the next bus coming, I won't be able to get to work on time.
Sure.
I know that that's something that you can't do individually, but how do you ascertain, like the beginning of working times, usually like they're 7, 8, 9, and perhaps 10?
Well, I know in the past the authorities work with BRPC a lot to like a jobs, was it jobs study, jobs?
The workforce.
Workforce development information, things like that. So we take a lot of information from that partner agency. The authority also has customer surveys regularly. We did one just last winter. We'll do one this winter. So we see trends over time. And then we are very actively accepting comment at all times. The website for comment is used. We have a very engaged ridership in a lot of regards. For the Berkshires, our service territory is about the size of the state of Rhode Island. So for an agency that has, respectfully, given the other areas of the state, quite limited funding, a bus every hour on 13 routes is quite a lot.
Right.
And sometimes it's a stretch. If there was more funding available, then we would certainly like to increase things like the Route 1 would be a prime candidate for half hour, if not 15-minute service. It certainly has the business for it. It's just more of a, the support has to be there from the state. But we are very engaged with the customer. Yeah, and we purposely make ourselves very available for that.
Yeah, and just a few more things. As was mentioned, it's good if you can get your stops where your bus is stopping once because you're idling, and I would hope in the future, I know there's been a push on it to, your transportation as far as electric buses.
Sure.
And that's something that we really need to look at as a society.
Bob's got a great thing for you.
Hey, Bob.
How many are in your fleet, Bob?
Don't drink the Kool-Aid.
Yeah.
Don't. We've had 2 studies done by Mass DOT.
Yeah.
And asked, this is our current system, how do we transition to an electric fleet on a one-for-one basis? So they did the study and they came back months afterwards, and we had one fraction of one of our routes that would fit into that one-for-one. So you could swap off the diesel or the hybrid bus that we're running for an electric. That was the first study. The second study confirmed that. We run 5 o'clock in the morning, 5:30 we start. some routes, and close to 11 o'clock at night.
Yeah, it's midnight.
So we're out there a long stretch. With the infrastructure that would be required, it might be a 3 to 4 to 1, 3 or 4 to 1 swap out for those vehicles at over $1 million apiece. And then the operating cost of, well, let's all plug it in at the same time. It's not something that we think would be feasible with our route system the way it is. We've been looking forward, thinking a little bit for the last 2 years maybe. What's the next thing? Because if you have an electric bus out on the road in the snowstorm and it stalls because you can't go anywhere, if you turn the heat on, you kill your battery.
If it even works.
Right, and if you do turn your heat on or your air conditioner in the summertime, your range is greatly diminished. You could probably do a couple runs, you'd have to go park it and get a different bus. We're looking at hydrogen as the next thing, because that's on the nearest horizon. Chuck Schumer was touted as saying he wants to make New York State a hydrogen-producing state, which you need water and you need electricity, and I believe they're both available at Niagara Falls. There's a great rail line from there that could hook into the area here. Now, I was told you can't legally put hydrogen tanker cars on the rail. However, we do seem to have all those other tanker cars on the rail right now. Lots of little hydrogen. Now, we're forward thinking because we know that that's at least 3 years down the road. But it's something that we're looking at. As a matter of fact, we've been looking at it. There's more than one transit authority within the Commonwealth that are also interested in that because they just have too long of a span. And in the meantime, we're buying hybrid buses. Most of our smaller cutaway vehicles, all but one has a hybrid propulsion unit in it. Those were aftermarket, put them on, they were done in Braintree, they're bankrupt now, so we can't do that for the newest vehicle that came in. But they have been, and you know, do they help with fuel economy? Sure. Do they help with maintenance costs? Absolutely. Brakes are probably the number one thing. It works like a regen for the retarder. So yeah, that works. The newer buses, the large vehicles that we're slated to be buying, those are all hybrids. So the hybrid seems to be the way to go in that transition period. And as soon as you have a electric vehicle and you need that small diesel engine in it to run your AC or your heater, it's a hybrid. So call a hybrid, and so that's where we are. So are we concerned that we're not transitioning right away? Not really. We've had studies. We're looking at it, and we're going to look and say, well, can we go to hydrogen? Is that the right way for right now? Today that looks to be, but by the time we get to that point in time, hydrogen may be, you know, just like the batteries now, it's not going to work in that application. And I know that, what is it, down in Pennsylvania, SEPTA said, hey, we're going to try hydrogen because you got a truck, you can bring it to us. You don't have to buy all the infrastructure for it. It's a big container. You put it on your vehicles that are over probably $1.5 million each, and they've got a 10-vehicle study that they said they're going to do. Now, I really want to see the results of that and how they work, because I don't know where in that part of Pennsylvania they're going to run, but I'm sure they're going to run into snow, and I'm sure they're going to run into hills, which we have here. So.
Yeah, and I won't ask for any more comments, but you're very correct on the brakes with a hybrid, because they'll last a lot longer than regular brakes, so that saves a lot of money. I'm sure it will. And let's see, off the top of my head, I just thank you because in this area that's sorely needed, this type of transportation. It makes it for so many people here because of the situation that they're in and our area is in. And lastly, I wish there was a way that drivers know that they don't have to stop for a bus when they have their lights on. I mean, I've been behind, people, and they're not aware of it, so they see lights because they think of school buses, even though it pulls over. And I've seen it a number of times where people, and people in the back are tooting, but that's certainly something that, certainly not in your purview. But thank you very much. That's all I have.
Anything else?
No. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks so much.
Appreciate you being here. All right. So that brings us to item E. On Monday, I was aspirational in thinking we might be able to do the tax rate classification, just a preliminary information session. So the board might remember for the last 5 years, we've had an information session about the tax classification prior to having the public hearing about the tax rate classification. However, the assessor has asked me to inform the board that the tax classification hearing will be held on Wednesday, October 18th. This is approximately 4 weeks later than last year, but it is due to the fiscal 2024, this current fiscal year that we're in, being a 5-year recertification year with the state, which is a much more intensive process than a typical tax year. So the assessor's office is currently waiting for the state to approve our values. And once she has all of the necessary information, she will forward the information to Bree to distribute to all of us to review. It is her intention and hope to have that information to us next week on Tuesday or Wednesday so that we would have a full week to review it. Unfortunately, we won't have a meeting prior to the public hearing, so she'll go over that with us at the public hearing, but she has told me to let all of you know that she is welcome to entertain any questions from any board members once you get the packet of information. She will make herself available outside of office hours if that's more convenient for board members. If you can't come to her office during normal business hours, and she is apologetic that we can't necessarily have a meeting prior to the public hearing, but that is kind of the schedule. The reason that we need to honestly hold the hearing on the 18th is in order for the treasurer's office to get bills out in a timely fashion due to cash flow issues. So usually those bills have to go out by the end of October, so we wouldn't be able to necessarily go further than the 18th. So that's where that stands. So I apologize that I put this on the agenda aspirationally, hoping that we would be able to have some information tonight and then be able to take action in 2 weeks. So please look for that information next week, and then in 2 weeks we will have that classification hearing. So, I think that's all I have. Jay, I don't know if you had anything else?
No.
I think I've communicated everything in her memo to me today.
No, that's fine.
Okay, great. All right. Then I will pass things on to Jay to give us a Greylock Glen project update on the construction.
We have a lot of stuff going on with Greylock Glen. Thought it was just a good time to bring everybody up to speed on where we are. It doesn't take much to walk up there and see that the outdoor center construction is continuing. We just received a master update from the general contractor this week. Work is going to continue through the winter. The building is scheduled for substantial completion probably in early spring. So we anticipate assessing that as we go and make a determination as to when we think there'll be a grand opening. But work will continue through the winter, mostly in the interior spaces. Right now, the shingles are going on. That's what you see the most, what's happening on the exterior, and in the interior, framing is continuing along with mechanical ventilation. some of the kitchen equipment is in. It's very exciting to watch it come to fruition. So that's what's going on with the outdoor center. In terms of the outdoor center operation, we received one response to the issued RFP for an educational provider. That was Mass Audubon. Donna and Eamon are working to put an internal review group together to review that, interview Mass Audubon, just as we have all the other RFP respondents. Once we're done with that internal review, we'll have Mass Audubon make the presentation to the full board at a public meeting so that the board can decide if Mass Audubon is the right operator for the educational wing. And they have been rather excited about it. They've been working with the town all along, so it's no surprise that they responded. But we haven't really had a lot of time to digest it, but that will be in the ensuing next month or two, I would say. Also, kind of somewhat related with the outdoor center is the water system project. The water system project, most of the underground work has been completed at this time. If anyone drives by West Road, right at the bottom of West and Gould Road, you'll see that they were working to the right of the pump house. That's called a hot box. That has the connection to the general water system. It has the backflow preventer in it, the water meter in it, et cetera, and also some of the components that send back the usage information to the water district itself. Most of that work is completed. This month, the subcontractor will start working on the water tank itself. It is a pedestal water tank. So the water tank will be elevated up, sitting on a pedestal. The pedestal work will start this October, and then work will stop, and then the tank will be finished sometime next year, and that work is anticipated to be completed next summer. So that's a pretty significant project, but they are making good progress with it. Unfortunately, as inextricably intertwined as both the water system project is with the outdoor center, we're going to have to monitor the alignment in terms of when can the building open versus when, in what status is the water system in. The primary use of the water tank is for fire protection, fire safety. The fire district is aware of it. The fire chief is monitoring it. We may be able to occupy the building for a period of time without it, but obviously we're concerned about public safety. So these are things that we're working through as we go, but work is progressing. There's no significant snafus, and just as I always do, our general contractor and the subcontractors are doing just a great job up there with it. We've brought a few interested parties through the building over the last few weeks, and there really isn't one person that looks at it that doesn't say it's going to be a beautiful building. And just as a public safety reminder, particularly with October and the fall foliage coming up and the Glen getting a lot of usage, please do not trespass on the property. Please do not go into the building. It is a construction zone. You do risk getting hurt in there, so please respect that area on behalf of our general contractors. The other project that is ongoing is our campground. As everybody knows, Shared Estates is our developer. We have been working diligently with legal counsel to develop our lease agreement and our development agreement. These documents are just very complicated and they take a long time. This is not necessarily a routine commercial transaction, so we're going back and forth. There has been no snags. There's been good dialogue between the town and Shared Estates. We anticipate sitting down and wrapping those up hopefully in November, but these are very long and very thick documents, and it's a lot of legalese in there, but that's just taking a while, but nothing is wrong with it. In fact, Daniel Deuce checked in with me the other day, and they're still very excited about the project. So that is where the campground stands. In terms of campground design, et cetera, just as a reminder, everybody, they're not really going to do anything more beyond what they've already said is their proposal until the lease agreement and until the development agreement are done and signed. Then they will be able to invest funds into taking that design even further. And at that point, that's when more of that public process will take place with the planning board. This board has to approve the final design, et cetera. So we'll keep everybody in the loop as we go. And the last piece I'll share is, and I had sent it to the board separately outside this meeting, and that is Don and I have completed the job descriptions for executive director and for the superintendent of buildings and grounds. As everybody recalls, going through the budget process last year, the finance committee and the board of selectmen and town meeting approved funding for those positions. The money is available for a start sometime in January. We're hoping to start people in that January, February range, so the job descriptions are done. We anticipate advertising pretty decent wide swath at some point, probably by the end of this month. So if anyone's interested in those positions, please keep your eyes open, and they'll be posted sometime in October. That is the Greylock Glen update. Big project, taking up a lot of time, still exciting. Sometimes we stay up at 2 o'clock in the morning and wonder about it, but we're getting it done.
Thanks, Jay. Appreciate the update. Any questions from the board?
Well, I would
John?
just, yes.
John, go ahead.
Go ahead, John.
The usual questions for me, of course, the budget. Where do we stand in regards to the funding that was allocated? And a lot of work to go into that.
Yeah.
And the cost of material.
Yes.
When we started and from how it's gone way up. But anyways, where do we stand in regards to the budget?
So we have about $10 million available to build the building. The building itself, the contract with Sullier Zepka is $8.3 million. On an $8.3 million project, we've only encountered about $150,000, give or take, in change orders. Some of those change orders were for additional cost on materials, particularly diesel fuel is one, some of the cedar shakes, et cetera. When you look at the total cost of that building, $8.3 million versus the $150,000 or so in additional cost, that's pretty good in the construction world, very good. So we're within budget. We will build the building as it is designed, yes, knock on wood, please. To Joe's point that he always makes, and that is, we don't want to dilute that building. So there's some aspects of the building that had always been talked about being included, even before we got the $8.3 million, through Rep. Barrett and Senator Hines, et cetera. For example, some of the stonework that we really want to do exceeds the available amount of money. So what we're going to have to do is, we always sit in with the contractor and figure out, we'll get the building built, it'll be furnished, it'll be usable, but then some of the landscaping and some of the things we may not be able to do right away. We'll have to phase that in, and we'll have to figure out how we're going to pay for that, whether that be a capital appropriation, whether there'll be additional grant funds that we can seek, or will the enterprise pay for it itself as it goes. So those are some of the conversations we're having now. They're good conversations to have. It's a good problem to have. Don and I would like to just stone everything right out of the gate. The last quote that we had for stone was about $770,000. These are just some things that we couldn't afford when we put the initial bid package together. Congressman Neal got us the additional $1 million worth of money. These are some of the things we've been doing with that additional $1 million, the stonework that we couldn't afford initially. But we also have to pay for the OPM, Colliers. For example, if there's an issue with the building that comes up during commissioning, Colliers looks for that. They're up there weekly, if not more, looking at different aspects of the building. That costs money to have that consultant. So right now, the budget is good. I tell Donna, please don't ask for anything more. What you have to work with is what you have to work with. The town has made a lot of commitments so far, and so far, so good. So we're on track, on budget. We have the money. We're just being smart in terms of what decisions we're making. Some of the fun stuff that's happened so far is, furniture. We've looked at furniture, the type of furniture that's going in there. We want the building to be usable. We want the building to earn money to pay for itself as we go.
Okay, just one more question for now is you mentioned the water tower. Where's that going to be located? Is it going to, is it going to be some in an area where everybody can see it, or what's the situation with the water tower?
Water tower is all the way at the end of Teal Road, and it is on the what used to be the maintenance building for DEM, Department of Environmental Management, when it was there. Unless you're hiking up into the woods, you won't see it. In fact, if anybody's on the Meadow Loop now, you'll see where some of the construction is because you can see it, but it's not designed to be an eyesore, and it won't be. It's pretty well buried up in the woods.
So you might want to explain with this situation, some may ask, we have water coming up, we put all those utilities in, the state grants help put those utilities in, including water, which is going to the building itself. And we also have fire hydrants that are up there. What's the need of the tower?
So the fire hydrants are dry. There's never been any water installed in the fire hydrants. There's never been any water installed in the water system itself. After it was put in several years ago, tested, and then the system wasn't what's called what's flooded. So there's two, I'm going to try not to get very technical. There are two types of water usage for Greylock Lynn: drinking water and fire protection. If you look around Adams, you'll see that we're in a valley, and you'll see that a lot of our residences are up into the hills. Well, that water comes down from a main from our wells in Cheshire, and then it gets pumped up in a variety of different areas, pump houses, up into the neighborhoods. That is the same with the Glen. However, for fire protection purposes, you have to have a certain amount of flow with over a certain period of time and delivered at a certain pressure. The only way to deliver adequate water pressure for fire protection purposes, that's your overhead sprinkler system or your standpipes on the side of the building where the fire department will make a connection to, can only be delivered by the use of an elevated water tank. It is what's happening at the Glen. I think the best analogy I can give you, John, is for everybody at home. The water system design at the Glen is no different than the water system designed when you look at the tank over on Orchard Street, East Orchard. No different than the water tank at Hoxie Brook, Upper West Maple. That it is no different. It does the same thing. The only difference is that these are drinking water tanks. That water tank up there will provide adequate fire protection. For the outdoor center, there's a separate line that was installed directly to the building for drinking water. And all the water that goes up there is automatically treated and chlorinated by the water district, and then it goes in. So all the water up there is treated. It's just, in order to have fire protection, we need the tower. The water system itself is designed for the full proposed build-out of the Glen, not just the outdoor center. So all the work that the town's done up in the Glen over the years has always been earmarked for outdoor center building, campground, whatever that campground looks like, and the proposed lodge and conference center and the proposed amphitheater. So once this water system work is completed and done, no matter what is built up there, we'll have adequate water supply.
Okay, thank you.
Joe?
I was going to ask the question, I feel $150,000 isn't bad, but when you're talking about rock work, is that landscaping work, or, because there's a lot of rock facade on a building?
Now, this is all
You're talking landscaping?
stone
Okay,
walls.
that's fine.
All that
Yeah.
labor, the handwork.
Right. It makes a big difference,
It-
but that's
it does.
something that can be done a little bit down the road.
Yes, the idea is we're able to phase it in, and it's not going to look bad. We'll use, the architectural team is very good. They understand the cost limitations. You know, again, it'd be nice to do it all in one shot, but it'll be done over time.
Yeah, I think, being up there quite often, people will be amazed how beautiful that building is. It's just a gem, really.
It is.
So-
It's something, I think it's something for this community. Granted, it's for Northern Berkshire.
Yeah.
But I think it'll be something that people here in Adams will be proud of.
Yeah, I think that also, but I think too, we need to start looking at traffic flows and things of that nature, for safety purposes, but that's something that should be coming, we should be thinking about
So that
personally.
work was already done. All that traffic estimate was already done. We have all of that data. And in fact, VHB is already looking at additional parking area up there.
But I'm talking the lead-up roads, like French Street and Valley Street and Maple Street. I mean, you go up there, and if there's cars on the side of the road, you have to stop coming down, in other words, so, but I'm not going to get into that. That's not the topic now, but I think there needs to be a look at traffic flow. At least that's my personal feeling about it. And if I'm not mistaken, Jay, they pressurized and ran water into the
Yeah.
pipes that had been there a long time, and I was surprised, no leaks for
Yeah,
all the time that they were dry.
Yes, it was retested. So that contractor, which I think was Billings, they did a great job
Yeah.
on that.
So, and I guess that's basically, and one other question, how are you gonna choose the people to interview Audubon? How's that gonna be made up?
Donna will tell you that. I think it's going to probably be Eamon, myself, Donna, and Laura Brannigan, probably the same group that did Shared Estates. That's my guess, last time I talked to Donna.
Okay.
Anything else,
No.
Joe? Rick? Okay.
And don't forget too, Joe, that's just a review committee. The full board will get the same presentation and make the decision to move ahead.
Great, thanks. Thanks, Jay, appreciate the update. So you want to take item G, the reserve fund transfer request?
I can take it. So this is a prophylactic measure to request the board to approve a reserve fund transfer request. We'll have to go to the finance committee next. There's two ways to pay for the work, but for those watching at home, let me go through this. The Power Street area has a culvert that goes underneath the lower half of the road. It's partially corrugated metal, corrugated steel pipe, along with old boiler tube, which is the old tubes that were used in the boilers in the plants. They were removed from the plants at some point and repurposed as part of our stormwater infrastructure. My guess is probably sometime in the 60s, as we think when that work was happening. For quite some time, at least 5-6 years, if not more, DPW has been watching that infrastructure, and it's been slowly failing. The July 10th storm exacerbated the condition of that structure. If you go up there now, you can look on either side of the road, and you can begin to see that the sides of the road are beginning to wash away. The asphalt's starting to sink in on that. A few folks had reached out knowing that Berkshire Gas had been in the area recently. It has nothing to do with the gas company work. Not to throw Berkshire Gas under the bus, it'd be nice if it was. We could, ask them to fix it. Not the case. It's just aged infrastructure. I had attached a spreadsheet so you can see all the work that we've done since 2018 using that $2.5 million bond money for stormwater. You can see that Power Street was not on it. We've had estimates using a private contractor upwards of $800,000, $900,000 to remove it all and do it. VHB, our engineering team, came in after July 10th. We had them look at Jordan Street as well in terms of a mitigation effort there, and we had them look at the Power Street area. VHB came up with DPW with a solution to repair it, and that solution is to install about 100 feet of 4-foot plastic pipe. It's 5 foot in diameter now. 4 feet would be sufficient. Using 30 tons of stone and 15 tons of asphalt, they'll be able to install a new drainage pipe in there. Some of the infrastructure will remain rather than being removed, but as usual, because some of that was repurposed, it doesn't have to be that 5 foot wide, doesn't have to be metal, doesn't have to be any of that, and some of that can be abandoned in place safely, saving us money. The conveyance of water is not a large amount of water. It just conveys from the top of the road down and out, so it doesn't handle that much. That's one of the reasons why that Power Street project was not part of the initial $2 million, but at this point, if we don't address it, it's going to undermine the condition of the road surface, and we'll have to sever the road off and not allow vehicle traffic over it. So our proposed solution is to install that pipe. Material costs would be $15,500. We anticipate using all town DPW labor. We anticipate, we'd like to do it during normal work hours, but this is not, it's a busy season. So we just budgeted for 8 hours of overtime with 5 folks for $2,757. And then we rounded up for a total cost of $20,000, adding in a contingency of $1,743. That will take care of this, and it will solve it. There's 2 ways to pay for this work. The first way, 3 ways really. The first way that didn't come to fruition was that there would have been a disaster declaration by the state and federal government sometime after the July 10th storm, and any costs associated with that storm would have been covered by the federal government. That did not come to fruition, as we know. There's been no state action at the legislative level or executive branch level to make any funds available. Therefore, it's on each community to address its own damage from that storm. Knock on wood, Adams fared fairly well compared to some of our neighbors. We have about $70,000 worth of work at the wastewater treatment plant that we had to do in order to make sure that situation never happens again, and we would have this. So we would have about $90,000 in costs due to that storm. The Department of Revenue authorized municipalities across the state that for any of these recent storms, you can take the cost of repairing anything that needs to be repaired, and you can amortize that over 3 years on a town budget. So we can, in theory, just take $20,000 from the reserve fund, do the work, and be done with it. Or we could take that $20,000, and as we will, that's $70,000 more likely than not, and spread it out over 3 years and put it into the tax levy and raise it, through taxes over a period of 3 years. We haven't decided which way that we want to do it. At the end of the day, it's going to cost something in order to do it. We're just trying to figure out the best way. We are going to go ahead with the work. It's not anything that has to, the decision how to pay for it doesn't have to happen immediately, because we have money in the accounts, obviously. We just have to make sure that by the end of the fiscal year, we make that decision. So we wanted to be sure that we have the reserve fund transfer available to us if we decided that that's the better way to go. So I don't like asking the board to release funds from the reserve fund usually before January. It's just something that we do internally. We like to wait until the last 6 months of the year, but this is obviously something we've been watching and talking about, and we have to get to it, and there's only so many ways we can pay for it. So that's what we're asking the board to approve. Next step would be to the Finance Committee.
How much do we have in our reserve fund?
$175,000. That's the full appropriation at this time. At the end of every fiscal year, whatever's left goes into the stabilization account, and at this time, we have over $1 million in stabilization.
And I don't know if you can answer, I'm very familiar with that, but I'm not sure where, when that water goes through that pipe, does that end up in the Southwick Brook?
Eamon, we just talked about this the other day.
Yeah, ultimately Southwick Brook, yeah.
And how does it snake down to get there, do you know, like the path? Because when I look at that, I'm wondering, you know, is there problems with the pipes down farther? And it backs up when you get heavy rain events?
I believe it's just, I believe at the end of the culvert, it's just an open channel down to Southwick. I don't believe there's any other.
That's correct.
Yeah.
There's two head walls.
Yeah, I know where they are, yeah.
In the way, before it runs into Southwick Brook.
Yep. And I just wonder about siltation. I haven't walked that in a while. Like, is there buildup of siltation to stop the hydrology? No? Okay.
No. Part of the work is DPW would make sure, it's a concrete channel. If you're going up Power Street, as if you're gonna go up to East Road, there's a
Yeah.
concrete channel on the right, that'll all be cleaned out. And a lot of times it's dry, even in large storms, it's dry.
Yeah, I followed that. There's a wetland up
Yeah.
on East Road where it emanates from, and it's certainly not a perennial stream,
No, not at all.
not at all. It probably is more of a drainage than
Yeah.
any other thing.
Overfill, yeah. Yeah.
Well, you know, I rather just, you know, this is my thought. I'm not going to make the motion right now, but I'd rather just right up front, take it out of the reserve fund, so we have that behind us without saddling, you know, our residents with extra money, and, because that's kind of what a reserve fund's for, but.
Yep, it is.
Do you want to make that motion?
No, I'm not going to make the motion, but I will definitely vote for it.
Okay. Does somebody want to make the motion?
I'll make a motion that the board approve a reserve fund transfer for the Power Street culvert repair,
And can you state the amount?
Amount,
$20,000.
Thank you. So I have a motion by Member Blanchard. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Second by Member Novak. Any further discussion?
I just,
Yeah, go ahead.
That's
I'm
okay.
sorry.
No problem. I just want to add, I appreciate the quickness of the town to look at that problem. There were huge holes on the side of the road that were getting bigger, and then they put a steel plate on there, which we were able to drive through, so I live on Power Street. But I appreciate the quick response and fixing a problem that comes up, which many years ago would take a lot longer to do, so.
Yes. Yeah, DPW has been, Lower Linden Street, they did a drainage repair there. You know, for them, it breaks up some of the monotony of the routine work that they do, but also they take pride in it because they're repairing some things that otherwise would cost the taxpayer a lot of dollars. So we're grateful that the DPW team's willing to take that on.
And the investments we make in capital projects or capital equipment also helps us when we get to these problems.
Yes, good
We
point.
can take care of it as a town instead of hiring out
Yes.
a vendor, so save money. Thank you.
Any other discussion?
Yeah, I would just like,
Hi, Joe.
just a statement. I'm not too keen on plastic pipe, but as been mentioned, the flow rate there usually isn't too high. I remember we had plastic pipes and then water undercut them. I think it was on Lime Street near the Southwick Brook, and lifted them right up. So there's a place for them, but.
That's what's recommended by the
right.
engineers.
Yeah, no.
That's a good point, good point, Joe. It is a slow amount of water that goes through there, exactly correct. So I think we'll work there. Yeah.
There's no other discussion. All those in favor? Aye. Anyone opposed or an abstention? right.
Thank you all.
That is unanimous. Thank you. All right, that brings us to subcommittee and liaison reports. I'll start with Member Duval.
I'm good, thank you.
Okay. I just have a licensing update, so I have actually 2 items. Licensing renewals will be out by the end of this month, or I guess I should say by early November. We'll have to act on them at the first meeting in December, so for all of our license holders, please be on the lookout for that, and I know Ms. Hampman will be in touch with folks about how they can pick up those materials. And other news with licensing, we did receive today notification from ABCC that they have a hearing scheduled for 2 of our establishments for a violation of serving underage. Those hearings are taking place on Tuesday, December 5th of 2023. The establishments are Vale's Variety and also Tri-Petroleum, doing business as The Mobile up on Howland Ave. Both of them serve to a person under 21 years of age, both on June 22nd. So I just wanted to notify the board that we did receive that notification today of those hearings. So that's,
Unfortunately, it's happened again. So the process is after the hearing, that does come to the board? Mm-hmm. Okay, for the license, acting as the licensing.
we will see what the ABCC says. Yep. That's it for licensing and subcommittees. Joe?
I haven't attended any subcommittee meetings.
Okay. And Rick?
As everyone's well aware, no, nothing.
Well, thank you. The camera is pointed in that direction, so I am going to see if there's an announcement or good of the order from that end of the table. Joe?
Yes, I have a few things, and once again, I want to really wholeheartedly thank the group that's going around, our beautification group. I mean, they're doing an outstanding job. I think that they should be commended in a way that perhaps if they'd like to come forward so people can put a face with what they're doing. I mean, they're making this town look so beautiful. I mean, and how important is it for people coming through our community to see, you know, what they're doing? I think it's great. And so once again, my kudos to those individuals who are doing a lot for our community. Mm-hmm. Also, as was mentioned through our licensing today, there's going to be a lot going on at the Adams Theater during the Columbus Day weekend. There's a lot of work also going into the theater, and I would ask people of the community to, you know, if they have a chance to take in one of the shows, you know, of course to their liking, but most importantly, I'd like to see the people of the town of Adams who haven't gone into that theater to see what has been accomplished in a short period of time. So I would just hope that the turnout is good. I believe it's going to be. There's some great shows, and so please, people of Adams, take some time, if you have the time, to go to the theater and catch one of the shows and see what's going on, and I'm sure you'll be very impressed.
Yeah, I think there's about 5 opportunities this weekend.
Yeah.
There's a concert, a comedy show, the circus, the Susan Hakes event, and I think a Susan B. Anthony
trial.
Yeah, so there's really something for everyone this weekend.
And I'd like to add that the prices are very accommodating for people.
Yeah.
They're certainly not, you know, overcharged to go there. So once again, please take the time to go.
Thanks, Joe.
That's all I have.
Great. I have a couple of things. Also this weekend, we have Ramble Fest and the Ramble. So Ramble Fest will take place on Sunday, and then Monday is the Ramble, both annual events. So look for that information. I think this is at everybody's seat here, and we'll get this information out to the public. But at our September 6th meeting, Eamon came and presented to the board about the work that's being done about the Northern Berkshire County Digital Equity Plan. There is the first public meeting taking place here in Adams. It's on Tuesday, October 24th at 6 p.m. So there are some flyers that are going up and more information, but please mark your calendars for Tuesday, October 24th at 6 p.m. for a public meeting on the Digital Equity Plan, and we'll talk about that, or we'll announce it again at our next meeting. And since we talked about Halloween, I thought it would be good for me to put forward that the events committee, the Adams Events Committee, is once again doing the pumpkin walk. That will be the same weekend as the Lions Club Halloween parade. So it's Friday, October 27th will be the carving at the Visitor Center, and then Saturday and Sunday, so it'll be Saturday the 28th and Sunday the 29th, will be the viewing of all of the pumpkins. So that's becoming a really nice annual event over at the Visitor Center as well. And I think that's it. John, do you have anything?
Just a couple possible agenda items. We did review recently, we had a public meeting in regards to Park Street resurfacing, and at some point, if we need to discuss that again in a public meeting. And also, the new wiring, wires that are coming over the Rollin for electrical grid. I know we approved to have, I don't know if it was Mass Electric or it was, to install the new wiring across the mountain through the Renfrew section of town, I think. I'm just curious if that's happening or what the status is of that.
I have not heard any updates recently.
Yeah, if you heard anything, if you could bring it forward to us,
Sure.
I appreciate it. Just haven't heard anything in a while, so.
I'll look into it.
Okay, great, thank
I could
you.
add just a little bit to it. Yeah, they're going wholeheartedly. I was on Route 9, and they've got all the planking, you know, so they don't disturb things. Yeah, they're going at it, that's for sure.
Okay, making the way to Adams, right?
Yeah, I hope so.
Yep, thank you.
Okay.
That's all I have, thank you.
Thanks. And then, Jay, do you want to mention what is on the agenda?
No, go ahead, you can. Right, fine, happy to do
go
it. The annual public tree leaf pickup, as everybody knows, Adams, one of the last few communities around here does this. DPW does their best to go around quadrants of the town through the month of November and pick up leaves that have fallen from town-owned trees that are on town-owned property, i.e. tree belts. That does not mean bring your leaves out from your backyard, from your private trees, and put them into the roadway. We'll probably be talking about this the next few meetings just to keep everybody fresh about it. But that is anticipated November the 1st through November the 30th, 2023.
Okay, thank you. All right. So that takes us to, we do have an executive session for the board. So I do need a motion to go into an executive session, and we would only be coming out of executive session to adjourn our regular meeting. I do need a motion, and then it would be a roll call vote.
I'll make a motion to go into executive session for open meeting law, general law C-330A, section 21, reason number 6, to consider the purchase, exchange, lease, or value of real property. And after the executive session, we'll come back in order only to adjourn.
Okay, thank you. I have a motion by member Novak. Do I have a second?
A second?
Second by member Blanchard. It is a roll call vote. So Rick?
Yes.
Joe?
Yes.
It's a yes from Christine?
Yes.
John? Thank you. And we'll take a 5-minute recess so we can clear the room. Thanks.